I began to despise social media because I said, well, hey, I have to be a content creator to market my business. That sucks. Hey guys, Charlie here from Sacred Art Studios, the Echo Podcast. Wanted to take a couple minutes to give some more insight into what exactly it is that I'm doing and what I am trying to accomplish. Taking a step back a little bit, around the year 2019, I had accomplished a major goal in my life. So I started my first business, and I can't tell you why exactly I wanted to start a business and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm sure some of it was selfish, some of it was stupid, but that's everything in life, right? We don't have pure intentions. But I think what was pure was that I wanted to be set free. What I mean by that is, I wanted all of the constraints, which were mostly creative constraints for me at the time. I wanted all that gone. I spent a lot of time in corporate America, amongst other things, and I felt like I became someone who I just was never meant to be, someone who wasn't me. And you have to do that sometimes to pay the bills or whatever our excuses are, but I knew deep down inside that this wasn't it, and I didn't know exactly what it was. So I took the risk, I took the jump, and I went out on my own, started my business, and I picked an industry that I thought I would be able to be a little bit creative, but really just learn what it means to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I think through that process, I realized a few incredible things. Number one, the freedom that I was craving and desiring was exactly what I thought it would be, which was amazing. Number two is I realized that as a business owner, for a good amount of time, I cared more about people and about helping than I did about the bottom line. Now, there's pros and cons to that. The pros are that's just me being authentic to who I am. I care about you, and I want to make sure I do a great job, even if it's at the expense of me losing money. And the cons of that are a business is a business, and if it's not a nonprofit, you do have to make enough money to survive. So I learned that lesson and wound up changing some things that were being done early on. And I found myself somewhere in the middle where I can make sure that my mission is clear, I'm fulfilling my mission, and I'm doing the right thing, and I'm making money. And that was a really great lesson. Another thing that I learned is there were other boxes that I put myself into as a business owner. One of them was social media. I began to despise social media because I said, well, hey, I have to be a content creator to market my business. That sucks. I hate it. So I wound up doing it. And I said, let me be uncomfortable and let me go down that road. So I did selfie videos, walked through job sites, and did a whole bunch of things that I didn't want to do with some pretty good return on that investment. But through that process, a couple things hit me really, really hard, to be honest. The first thing that hit me was we don't need to hate this task of creating content. And why do I hate it? I think I hated it because it felt inauthentic to me. It felt like me being someone who I'm not, smiling when I don't feel like smiling and saying things that I normally wouldn't say. But it never got to the heart of who I was as a person and what my business was really doing. And just to give you a little more insight, I was in the painting and the drywall business. And, we were in a very competitive market. I had actually exited that business at a great time. I think the business was doing really, really well. And the new owner of that business is doing a fantastic job. But I had to get to this place where I said, hey, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people doing the same thing. There's a lot of people selling on value, right? Not competing on price. All the things that you start to learn as a business owner, you realize everyone's always doing all of it. Everyone is now posting viral style clips on social media. Everyone has drones flying around as they're painting, doing things that they normally wouldn't do on a Tuesday morning. And it just became really a lot of noise, and that fed more into the fears and the insecurities and the anxieties that I personally had. I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing and see what sticks. And as an audience, if you put yourself on the other end of things, as an audience, you start to realize that you're getting yourself accustomed and trained to want to see inauthentic stuff and to want to be entertained by cuts and drones and transitions, and we dumb down so many things. Anyway, I wound up throwing the towel in, saying basically, this is not for me. I'm not going to create content. I realized that my creative realm was really not being tapped into, and my hatred for content creation was unwarranted. So I had to really dig deep inside and say, well, what's the problem? What's going on? I realized that sometimes the things that make us mad about other people, for example, are the things that we really hate about ourselves. Things that bothered me were really all boiling down to, I don't like myself when I'm not true to myself. So how much more do I not like myself on a screen or on a phone, on a reel, being someone that I'm not? And then all kind of dawned on me. I want to know you. Whoever's on the other side of that camera, who's ever on the other side of the screen, I want to know who you really are. And all I see on social media is just a mess of inauthentic, filtered, unrealistic life. And if I'm trying to figure out who a business is, we're accustomed to saying, what's the sexiest, coolest, most viral looking thing? But I'm like, man, I don't really care about that. I think deep down inside of all of us, we want to know that there's more underneath the surface. And I, in some odd way, wanted to be countercultural. I, in some strange way, wanted to say we were made for more than this, and we should want deeper connection with people that we do business with. I also started to encounter so many people who have an incredible story and that really want to do things with a high level of excellence, and they don't know where to go. They don't know what digital content should look like. They don't know what to say. They also feel inauthentic, and they're struggling big time, but their mission and story and heart really should be on movie screens all across the United States. And it just bothered me as well that we were resorting to viral moments when we had an opportunity to lay our hearts bare before the world and to be honest, which is what I'm trying to do in this conversation. And that also will help you understand what it is that I'm doing. Okay, so a lot of the content that you see that I'm posting now is from an aesthetic perspective, me. From the sounds to the graphics to whatever is there, there's a meaning, okay? There's a symbolic meaning, there's a deeper meaning, and there's an engaging element that doesn't just go for the special effects, it goes for the heart, okay? And I want to take the people and the stories that I've been able to encounter and put them in front of the world like a buffet in a way that we've never had a chance to actually really interact with. Because when we want to be authentic and we want to share our story, we come to this point where we're like, well, that's kind of a branding conversation. And that taps into marketing and that taps into advertising, and I just don't know what to say. We want to help those people. I want to be able to take your story, and uncover it in a really fresh and unique way that reaches the audience that you want to reach, not through gimmicks, but through a heart-to-heart connection, through the tool and through the mechanism of digital media, which is super powerful, as we all can see. So the Echo Podcast essentially was born out of that. The name Echo is part of the 4-step process that I've invented through discovering this in my own life, that basically is a trajectory, is an arc that is followed in people's lives. And essentially in their businesses as well. First is the source. In the science world, we'll call it the primal ooze. In the faith world, we'll call it, in the beginning, Genesis 1:1, the source, the creator of all things, put some kind of code in you that made you tick. The oath is the time in your life when you said yes, okay? That you realize that there's something going on, you say yes to God, and you want to go down this road. The forge is what happens right after that. Normally is, there could be a period of peace and quiet and happiness and fun and laughter, but usually following that is this phase of testing, of being forged in the fire. A lot of trials, things falling apart, God making you who you are, seeing what you're made of, and refining your mission, and refining, most importantly, you. And after the forge is a very important part, which is the echo. And I think that's the most important part, because once you get through knowing the source, who is God, saying yes to him, going through the fire, what happens is, in that refining, you come out like gold, you come out like a diamond. And that's the time where the world needs to see and hear and know who you are and what you're doing. And that's the important season or phase where most people get confused and they want to run off in a million different ways. Look at me, buy this, listen to this, whatever it is. And we all fall into this trap, including myself. But the Echo podcast was born out of that phase, out of that methodology, out of that ideology where we want to actually create a forum where your story and your heart can truly echo out into the world by giving a unique presentation of who you are and what your mission actually is. No noise, no distraction. So we'll have conversations in this room here. We'll have conversations in the other studio. We can set up a custom set for you and we can film this on site. But really, at the end, the assets that you want to have are some really engaging social media clips that are authentic to you. But more important, we want to have an encapsulated story of who you are and what your mission is. And then ideally, hopefully, highlight some really key moments in your journey. So whether that's the release of a film, or that's a peak critical mass moment where something major happened to you, or where God really blessed you and put his hand on you and catapulted you into a new phase of your life. That's what we want to be able to come out with, an encapsulated version of that story, which is what we're calling StoryForge, which is basically this process of excavating who you are and your story. This doesn't have to be something that's branded like Echo Podcast, but I think there's something deep and profound about two human beings sitting across the table from each other, excavating and learning and exploring and letting their curiosity get the best of them. As we're in this pre-planned, pre-structured conversation to get to the bottom of who you really are, what you're really offering, what you're really selling, right? And doing it in a way that then blends in the creative direction and the artistic vision of me and even you to create very important media assets that can then go out and echo into the world. So this is really the heart of everything that you see going on here. So all of that being said, let's continue the discussion. Please ask me questions. Please reach out to me and give me some feedback. Please, I'm totally open to that. And let's sit down, let's have some discussions, and hopefully we can also see your story and your heart echo out into the world. So thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And we hope to have a conversation with you soon.